every day the rule of law is just completely and utterly ignored by the occupants of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And when is enough enough? Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are that of my own and are not of my employer.
Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. But that's okay, cause I don't like y'all anyway. And I don't like y'all anyway.
We have until November of 2020 to get our act together as a country, as a nation, to correct this injustice. And the biggest injustice in the world was allowing a foreign power to install a criminal into the White House and turn an administration into a fascist crime syndicate. That must be corrected. And we only have there's only one more election we have to correct it, or this whole thing is over.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
I never met any of the founding fathers, but I'm sure if they were listening to East Coast Radio right now and brand new episodes of Dyze in your house, they would agree with the sentiment. And you can follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio. Get us on Patreon at East Coast Radio. Vote. Blue Wave 2020. Let's make it happen. East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Every weekend. We here on East Coast Radio are trying to fight the rising tide of fascism.
The noun fascism is usually defined as a governmental system led by a dictator having complete power, forcibly suppressing opposition and criticism, regimenting all industry, commerce, etc., and emphasizing an aggressive nationalism and often racism.
Yeah, we don't want any of that in America. So we gotta stop it. We gotta put out the fire now.
Staten Island boys are no joke.
As liberals, not even as liberals, as Americans, as patriots, as people that like democracy. The only thing we can do right now to fix our country is use our weapons. And our weapons are our voices, our handmade signs, and social media. Get the message out there. Voting. Voting is key. Elections have consequences.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Representing Staten Island. Staten Island boys are no joke.
Hey yo, who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? What goes on? It is the weekend, the final weekend in July 2019. We are back here on East Coast Radio with another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house. What do we do here on Dyze in your house? Well, first and foremost, it's to encourage people to get out and vote. Because voting is important, elections have consequences, and we, as young people, have to take back our country. We have to take it back from the fascist crime syndicate that occupies the White House currently, that occupies D.C. We gotta take it out with votes, but before the votes, we use our voices. We use our handmade signs, and we use social media to protest the injustices that go on, the corruption. We shine light on the corruption, and we let people know, our friends, our family, people that didn't vote before, how important voting is. People that aren't really into politics, they'll say things like that. We let them know, listen, I know you're not really into it, but I need you to do me a favor here. And I need you to pay attention this one time. Because this matters. Because the future of our country is on the line. And if we don't get things together, November 3rd, 2020, It is over for democracy. We will slip further and further and right into an authoritarian state. Here in America, we don't do fascism. Hey Google, what is fascism?
According to Wikipedia, fascism is a form of radical right-wing, authoritarian ultranationalism characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and of the economy, which came to prominence in early 20th century Europe.
Yeah, we don't want any of that in America. We don't want it. We're not for it. We don't want authoritarian dictators telling us what to do. We don't want to live in fear of our government. In fear. When we should be living in love. Because we are all one community. We are one nation. We are one race. We are all Americans. And before I get on to what I was doing, I know like that was an impassioned open. And this is going to be like more of a downer. But two things to cover. First, iTunes. This podcast, I upload it to YouTube. And the long story short, when I upload it to YouTube, that automatically uploads it to the Least Coast Radio Apple Podcasts feed. For some reason, when I go to click on an Apple Podcast on my podcast, it does not play. So I don't know if that's happening to you. If that's the case, I'm sorry. It says the episode's not available. So what you got to do is just go to YouTube, and we'll rock it from there for now. I'll figure out another way to do it. I'll do Stitcher. Reach out to me. Tell me what is the best. What is a place that you would listen to your podcast through? What app are you using? I mean, I can't get on Spotify podcasts because, come on. I mean, I wish I could, but I don't think that that's how that works. I think it's only like celebrities and people that you've heard of on there. Anyway, this is an issue I just discovered, so I apologize for that. So, YouTube for now. I'll be sending the links. YouTube, Patreon, it'll be up there. The Patreon is actually the YouTube link, so that's that. Also, second piece of business. The views and opinions expressed on my podcast are that of my own, Jay Porks, and not of that of my employer. So, nothing I say is a thought that represents anybody else's thoughts besides my own. Unless stated, but it will never be my employer. The thoughts of my employer are never on this podcast. They're not a thing. They're not a thing in my life. They're not things that anything I say. So, views and opinions are my own. My own. Mine. Just mine. Because sometimes I may use a little foul language. I may come off like a crazy lunatic. And I'm not on the clock right now. So, that shouldn't cost me work. Especially if the views and opinions expressed on this podcast are that of my own, and not of that of my employer. Anyway, okay, done. That's to the side. Vehicle for voting. You gotta vote. This is important. Democracy's on the line. I know there's a lot of Democratic candidates. I know we have a lot of thought to put into this. I know it's tough. Decisions are tough. But listen, you listen to what these people say, and you see what they do, and you watch what they do. And if those things are the same, we go from there. So, polls are, latest polls have like Biden up, of course. And I just don't think he's going to be the nominee. When he talks, he seems forgetful, and he's losing it. Not losing it. He just seems like he lost a step. Because he's a couple of years old now. So we're watching that. We're not going to do a deep dive into the Dems today. And we're not going to do a deep dive into the Democratic presidential candidates today. But the important thing is that most of them are good, solid candidates who would not only be... I mean, listen, anybody would be better than what we have now. Literally, a hamster, an empty chair. Who's the asshole that was doing the empty chair thing? Yelling at the empty chair at the RNC. A bottle of Febreze. I'm just naming things I'm looking at right now. An empty cup of Starbucks iced coffee that I just woofed down. Which is why I'm so loud today. Anything would be better than what we have now. But at the same time, as a bonus, we got some really good candidates. some people that would make really good presidents. So you gotta pay attention to the Democratic side. And just pay attention. And, you know, get involved, man. I'm not saying watch MSNBC 23 hours a day like me. It's not true. It's not 23 hours a day. It's however many hours in the day don't have Dateline on. So it might be 22 hours a day. No, I watch the Yankees sometimes. And I watch The Loudest Voice. It's a great series. Too real. Anyhow. Business. Robert Mueller. There's a lot of spin going around with that. Mueller testified. And I told all you people, I tweeted to my followers. I have over 500 followers. You can follow me on Twitter at JPork. I tweeted all my followers repeatedly. I said, listen, Robert Mueller is not coming to Capitol Hill to take down, this fascist crime syndicate with words. That's not what he's going to do. He has no pizzazz. He's not a flashy guy. And I swear, go back in the archives, man. Go back in the archives and listen to almost every episode of Dyze in Your House in the last couple of weeks. And you will hear me say this. Because now you hear the news pundits saying it, and I said it. I said it first. You know what I'm saying? I had it. This guy, it's not like, oh, that's not a shot. Not everyone is me. Crazy, wild, screaming. 100 colors on his new pair of kicks that I just got. They're freaking dope. And you know what? If, let's just say, 2 people retweet this podcast, I will tweet out a picture of me wearing my crazy, colorful kicks. Okay, I gotta do something for you. So Mueller said he was gonna read his test. He was gonna read his report, and the right-wing media is like, "Oh, look at this old man. He came out and he didn't know even what was in the report. It's like when your mom writes a book report and you don't read it, and then you're asked to explain it." And that's funny. Because they're the same media outlets. This right-wing crazy media is the same one, Hannity, Tucker Carlson, these are the same people that claimed total exoneration. So how can you discredit the person who's exonerating you? How can you say that guy's an old man? Oh, well, he said you're innocent. Didn't he say you're innocent? Yeah, well, that too. I agree with him there, but everything else he said was a lie. A lot of the thing, it's a deep investigation. Mueller was an overseer. And he's not our savior, he's a Republican. Okay? And before he gave his press conference to debrief everyone on the whole thing, he said, I quit the Justice Department. I'm giving in my papers. He obviously knows he can't save this. He did his best. He told Adam Schiff that what was done, the campaign inviting a hostile foreign power to help out, was unpatriotic. Robert Mueller said, true. That's all I need to know from the party that wraps themselves in American flags all the damn time and claims to be the party of patriotism. Are you joking? And Russia, people laugh at Russia like, oh, Russia, you blame that on the election loss. Listen, man, they're doing it right now. They targeted all 50 states. The Senate is releasing volumes of reports. These reports are coming out. And other nations are taking cue. And it would be easy for me to sit here and say, oh, well, if that's the case, can some nation that favors Democrats hack the election too, and help us? No, I don't want anyone involved in our elections besides Americans, because elections are for Americans. And not only that, I want more Americans involved in our elections because elections are for Americans. We can't have this continue. Do you know how many, listen, to take billions of dollars from the Department of Defense, the military funding, which, by the way, I'm not a person who supports anyway, that military funding, why don't you feed some fucking homeless people with that money? Instead of going to other countries and fucking blowing shit up. But anyway, take that, and the Supreme Court says you can use that to build a wall? To build parts of a wall? Wait a second. The Supreme Court that has a stolen seat? You stole the seat that Merrick Garland should have at least gotten a vote on. And that's the thing about Moscow Mitch. He doesn't bring things to votes. I just told you about all this election security. I just told you about all this Russia and stuff currently hacking our elections. And H.R. 1, the first bill that the House tried to pass that includes election security funding and stuff. Mitch McConnell, for the 4th time, would not bring it to the floor. Moscow Mitch, what's the deal? Is it because there is your PAC takes money from Russian oligarchs? Is it because your PAC takes money from the company that makes the voting machines that are faulty and don't count votes and help suppress votes? Is it because the people that manufacture those also contribute to you? What's going on, Mitch? Moscow Mitch. And I'm glad Joe Scarborough decided to get frustrated the other day. Oh, he wouldn't bring it to the floor. We've been screaming about this for 3 fucking years already. I'm glad the fucking Morning Joe can come on and fucking be mad about it. Now. Just like you had fucking Trump calling into your fucking TV show all those months. Then you say to yourself, we told you he could win. There's a danger to society. Then why'd you let it happen? It's a fact that Joe Scarborough was approached to run for some Senate seat or somewhere. Not a Senate seat, I'm sorry. A congressional seat somewhere, or be the mayor of some town. Or even run for president. And he has said, no, I have more influence on the American people on the show. Well, if you have that much influence, how do you let this danger to America lead America? If you have so much fucking power. Oh, well, we told you he could win. Thanks for letting us know. Why don't you tell us how we can stop it? Because I didn't hear that part. And you were over there dropping cocaine, Mitch. Moscow, Mitch. Yeah, I'm glad. Mitch McConnell needs to go. Is he going to get voted out in 2020? I don't feel confident in that. Why? Because he's been around since fucking the dinosaurs. That's the problem with politics. Got all these fucking old people. You can't have the average age of the Senate be like 68 years old. Those people aren't making decisions. Those people making decisions are not thinking long term, because those people aren't going to be here long term. They don't care about what happens in 20 years. They don't care that we're not going to have a planet. So it's your job and my job to get to the polls and vote. And vote these motherfuckers out. And the way we do that, before we get to the polls and vote, we get informed. We don't get misinformed. When we see news, we don't just believe it. We make sure there's other sources to it. You read one article that says something, you make sure you get some you look at the URL, you make sure it's not the Washington Post.com, you know what I'm saying? Or, you make sure Washington is spelled right. You go to the Times, you make sure it's the Washington Post, you go to their official Twitter. You make sure that this stuff is real, because misinformation is real. Sowing discourse in America is real. It's something that happens. It's something that's happening every single day. And they're sitting in Moscow in a dark, damp, warehouse, pretending to be Americans, sending out tweets, starting hashtags, getting things trending, spreading false news, sowing discord in America. They're doing that as we speak. And as we speak, Mitch McConnell thought it wasn't important enough to even bring it to the floor for a vote. Again, you can bring it to the floor for a vote, and then it votes no. Same thing with Merrick Garland. If you wanted to block Merrick Garland, get together with the Republicans and say, hey, we ain't voting for this guy, right? And then just vote no. Have a plan. When you don't bring it to the floor, that's a bitch move. That's what that is. And politics has no room for bitches, okay? We only got room for squads. Yeah, I'm with it. I don't care. I don't care. I like it. And you know what? We have to impeach the motherfucker. It's the constitutional rule. The Constitution states that when this shit has happened, you impeach this guy. And that's it. It won't go in the Senate. Good. Okay. Fine. Whatever. Let's investigate. So we'll impeachment inquiry. You can't do it in an election year. Why? That's playing politics. What? No, it's not. The Senate's only going to have one of those people running for president at that time. The rest of the people could be in the Senate, voting and shit. I'm torn. It's a thing that we're all torn on. Some people aren't. I personally go back and forth a couple of times a day. So later today, I might be like, nah, I'm against it. But like, the Constitution states that when we get to this point in time, impeachment is the necessary course of action. The problem is that this Senate will not convict. Therefore, he will not be removed, and that might either amp up the base. I used air quotes because, you know, the 23% of Republicans, which is like 18% of America. Some shit like that. But at the same time, it might turn off some independents. I guess if you're a wimp, if you're somebody that claims to be an independent, oh, I'm on the fence. I'm a blank canvas. Say it every week. There are no independents. You are not an independent voter because you want things. One party wants everyone to have health care, wants people to get out of poverty, wants to welcome everybody into the... I'm not saying the words open borders, okay? That's not what we want. Nobody wants that. But I'm talking about this country is a place where you could come to have a better life. And we want this place to be better. And we live as a community. And there's one side of the aisle that values diversity, and there's one side of the aisle that is not a fan of anything that's not white Christian. You know what I'm saying? So to sit there and say, well, I'm not sure which side I'm on. I mean, maybe... I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I really... To have one party that sees white supremacy and says both sides are wrong. I mean, and then to say, well, I'm not sure if I'm with the other guys. I mean, that's just nuts. And I know, I get it. We should have a better system where there's more than one party. But right now we don't, and this is an important election coming up. And we have to get together and put aside all the bullcrap and vote for the nominee and just make it happen. Because we need to get back to normal. We need to get back to not having to be on Twitter to see if we're at nuclear war. Because that's fucking crazy. Trade policy by tweet is crazy. Farmers are on welfare. Do you know that farmers are getting aid because they're not able to sell stuff to China anymore because of tariffs? You know what getting aid from the government sounds like? It sounds a whole lot like socialism! That's what it sounds like, but I thought socialism was evil and was going to be the downfall of America. That's what I thought because I heard that on Fox News. But now it's not anymore when you gotta put farmers on welfare because you fucked up their business? Nah, man. Can't have it both ways. Socialism. Oh, but what about the cops and firemen? They get paid through taxes. Yeah, but that's different. How? It's not. It's not different. It's not different than how we're going to have health care. And I'll go one further. It's not different than how we're going to have free public transportation. Why is the bus not free? The bus is for people that don't have money. It's insane. If the bus was free, it would encourage people to use it more and use less cars. And there would be less emissions in the air. And maybe we could do something about our fucking planet. Again, one side of the aisle cares about that. And one side of the aisle pretends that that doesn't happen. And you sit there and you say that you're an independent who doesn't have thoughts. That's insane to me. I'm gonna vote Green Party this time. What kind of asshole are you? I'm calling it out. I don't care. You can at me. I have a fantasy of bringing together all like-minded liberals like me. Bringing them together and us to be friends. And to be able to have so many friends that we can literally ignore all the red hat bull crap. All that Nazi propaganda. If we could just get away from that. And if all of us can come together with peace and love and unity. I mean, that's like a wild fantasy I have, man. That's better than any porno I've ever watched. That's better than any concert I've ever been to. That's been better than any thick paycheck I've ever received in my life. If we can do that, that's a world I'd want to live in. Dyze in your house. Exclusively on Least Coast Radio.